Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we're going to take a look at a brand new machine. It's actually not even available to buy yet, but I got a chance to try it out. It's called the LOKLiK iPaint machine, and it is a machine that allows you to make paint by numbers, either from your photographs, or you can use ones they already have in their software, or you can even, I guess, use artificial intelligence to make up a picture for you to make a paint by number out of. It's very versatile, and we're going to take a look at it today. So I've got this box here that we're going to see what it all entails, and I have used their die cutter and their LOKLiK Idea Studio software, and this is actually going to be able to be controlled with the LOKLiK Idea Studio, which is nice because if you already know the software from your other machines, then this is just going to be another option that's in the software. It's not in the public software yet. I got a beta version of their app, and that's what I use to control this, but it will be part of the software in the future, which I think is really kind of cool. It comes with a little envelope that has a quick start guide and also just a list of everything that comes with the kit, and it comes with everything you're going to need to get started, which is nice. And then beyond that, you're going to be able to kind of use the things you already have and draw things out with it. What I mean by that is that it's going to come with some, like a roll of canvas that you can transfer, you can draw the image onto in paint. It's coming with paint, it's got brushes, it's got the pens for the machine, it's got everything you need, and the software is free that you use with it. So they kind of want you to be able to open the box and get going. It shows you how to assemble it. It's very easy. We're going to do it together so you can see. It's packaged really nicely, and I would recommend saving the box because this is kind of a big machine, and if you're not using it every day, it's going to take up quite a bit of space. You're probably familiar with the little pots of paint if you've ever done paint by number before. Now, these are acrylic paints, and if you look at the link I share in the video description, they keep saying like DIY oil painting. But it's not oil paints, it's acrylic paints. But you can actually use this machine for much more than painting. You can use it to make embroidery designs, you can use it to make greeting cards, you could sketch on any sort of surface you want as long as it's under 16 millimeters thick, which is about like the depth of like one of your thinner stretch canvases. So you could tape a sketchbook down and have it drawn in your sketchbook. You could tape watercolor paper down, a watercolor greeting card, embroidery fabric, whatever you want. It comes with a couple of heat erasable pens, which is nice because then you can, after you're done painting in, you can heat it with your heat tool or press it with an iron or whatever, and the lines disappear, and you'll see that in a little bit during the demo. But it's kind of cool, and it comes also with a gel pen, and I reckon you could use pretty much any gel pen you wanted. All you're going to need to do assemble this is the little screwdriver that comes with it, and that screw is what holds the two pieces together because it's basically an XY plotter. So as I take these pieces out, you're going to kind of see what we have here. This is the base, and then there is an arm that's going to attach to that will kind of bring the pen around and allow you to draw with it. Now, if you have the original LOKLiK machine, you probably can do something very similar because you can put a pen in that and it can draw things out for you. So that's just something to consider. You may be able to do what you need to do with the machine you already have, but we'll talk about that a little bit further too, about who this is for. Now, it comes with a power supply, obviously, and the USB cord to hook it to your computer. Right now, the computer software does not have the capability for this machine yet, so I'll be using the special mobile app that I have that I have received to beta test. But I think once you can use it with your computer, it's going to be a lot easier. And like I said, save that box because you're unlikely to want to keep it out all the time because it is so big. And unless you have a business where you're making paint by numbers, it's probably not going to be something you're going to use every day. So I'm going to show you in real time how easy it was to put this together. I'm just going to slide these two pieces out of their box, out of their bag rather, and this is really all there is to it. Now you'll see on the base there's like a little it almost looks like a little serial port or something, like a computer port. Can you see that? It's just like this little white rectangle, and then we've got the opposite end in the arm. That's what you need to put together first before you try to screw the top and the bottom piece together. I know my overhead angle is not the perfect position for this, but I'm just popping the little plug into the plug in the bottom and kind of trying to tuck the cable in there so it doesn't stick out. And then you're simply going to put the screw in the hole and tighten it up. There's a little silicone piece that you'll pop in there over the screw just to make it look neat, but it's pretty easy to pull that out when you want to take it apart. It just kind of covers up the little screw hole there. It's just a regular Phillips screwdriver, so if you do lose that, you'll be fine to find a replacement. But that's all there is to the assembly. You're just going to plug the power cord into the back and plug that into the wall, and you're going to be good to go. Now we just need to prepare our substrate. That's the thing we're going to work on, and I'm using the canvas that came in the kit. And if you can see, I'm just kind of lining up the corner of the canvas up to the little notch that's on the left-hand side of the machine. Can you see it's just kind of like a little gray mark? And then when you go into the app or your software to put your project down, you can tell it how big you want it to be. But I am just going to work with this canvas that came in the kit, but you could use watercolor paper, you could use embroidery cloth, you can use canvas panels, stretch canvas that is not thicker than 16 millimeters. You could use wooden planks, you could use wooden like tree slices, you know how people like to make those ornaments and whatnot. Pretty much anything that is thinner than 16 millimeters is fine to use, and the total size of the canvas is like 12 inches by 16 inches, thereabouts. So you do have a pretty big size that you can work in. And then we're going to put our pen in a little pen holder. There's a little squishy grip that comes with the machine that you can put on different pens and hold that in. And I've got the heat erasable pen that I'm clamping in there. That way, if I make a mistake, I can easily heat it up, erase it, and start again. Now let's open the LOKLiK Idea Studio app and make a project. So I selected the iPaint as my device, and I decided I would upload one of my own reference photos to try to make a paint by number of. And I thought that using something that was kind of bright and fun, like a reference photo of a gumball machine that I recently took at a pizzeria, would be a really great paint by number subject. But you're going to see that we run into some issues, and hopefully I can give you some tips to help you avoid that. So what we're going to do is click the oil painting option. You have a few different image processes you can choose, but I want to do a paint by number, so I choose oil painting. Then you can do a traditional oil painting, or you can do an AI transfer. So the AI transfer is going to make it more like a cartoon, which would probably make it a little easier to paint, honestly. But I chose the traditional oil paint transfer, so it would be a little bit more like your regular paint by number. And you'll see there's all sorts of different little options in here where it can get a little hairy because, you know, I think it just takes practice with anything to learn what's going to work best for the different photos. Now, one thing I would recommend is not to choose a photo like this that's A, really complex, B, really dark. I would try to find something that's a little bit simpler, honestly. And I thought this would be plenty simple because it's a lot of circles. It's like gumballs in a gumball machine. But where the, I think the conversion got a little mixed up was in all those really dark shadows in the corner there behind the gumball machine. I decided to choose a medium difficulty oil painting because I thought, well, you know, I'm an experienced painter. I can do a medium. I don't really do oil, like paint by numbers very much, but I figured that would be somewhere in the middle. That would be pretty good. And let me tell you, this took a while to transfer. In fact, I'm going to put this in time lapse so that you can kind of see how long this process is, but it did take a while to convert this raster photo into a vector that the machine could read. Because basically what's going to happen is the app is going to take the picture and it's going to change all the shapes and colors into lines. And it does take a little bit of time. So yeah, I turned my screen time off because I wasn't sure if it was going to work if my screen blacked out, but I think it did. But anyway, I did keep the screen engaged to make sure that it would convert. And there you can see the converted picture, how it looks kind of almost like a cartoon. So instead of gradients of color, you have really chunky colors. There's no gradient, just kind of goes from one color to the next color without blending, if that makes sense. So now it's turning this into a line work, and I can take the picture and I can drag it on the mat. Now here's where I think having this on the computer would be much better, but the computer software was not available to me yet. And I have the beta version of the app, so I'm sure that things will be smoother when it rolls out to everyone, but I kind of made a size that I knew would fit on the canvas and told it to start drawing. And what it's going to do is it's going to do it does like a little kind of rectangle in the air, and you can make sure that the pen is hovering over where you actually have the canvas or whatever underneath, and that way that it should only be drawing on the canvas and not go off the canvas. Now I did try another one later on a canvas board, and I thought I had it lined up really well, but then when I went to draw it, it was like an inch lower than I thought it was. So it could have been a calibration error. It's probably more than likely a user error. But anyway, here you can see it drawing out the shape here. Now I'm going to say that this was not really a very successful project because I think there were too many colors. I think there were too many colors that didn't correspond with the 48 colors in the painting kit that I got. And I think that's why some of the shapes that this is drawing, and this is still in time lapse, some of these shapes did not have colors assigned to them, which isn't that big of a deal. If you're a painter, you can kind of, figure out what color would be closest or mix it. But the other thing was, if you're looking at where it's drawing the gumballs, it's got these, it doesn't have circles. It's breaking everything up into these little colors, kind of how we would, as painters, we'd paint the circle, then we'd add a highlight and add a shadow. This is kind of breaking it all up, which actually I think makes it more complicated and more difficult to paint than if I just sketched it out and painted it how I normally would. So this also took quite a while to sketch out. I'm thinking it took maybe about 20 minutes to sketch out because it was so complex. So that's something to consider. Whereas, if you just used a simple program to make something into a line art, printed it out on printer paper, then used graphite paper to transfer it, it would probably be a little bit quicker. Just something to consider, and that's something you could do without an expensive machine. I did see an area where you could download a PDF from the app, but I'm not sure because I tried downloading it, but it wasn't working. I think it's probably because I just have the beta version. But that could be something where you could use the software to make your own paint by numbers and then transfer them and then just buy their refill paints, which I did ask my contact at LOKLiK if they're going to be selling the consumables open stock and when they were going to come out. And she told me that yes, in August, they'll be selling the refill paints, the refill heat erasable pens, surfaces, that sort of thing. And I asked when this machine would be shipping, and she said on July 27th. So that's when it's going to be available for the public. If you sign up, there's a link in the video description. If you sign up, you can get $100 off the machine, but actually there's an additional discount. If you wanted to place a deposit down on the machine, you actually can get the machine for, I think, $169. It's going to be regular $299. So just something to keep in mind if you were thinking about buying this machine. There's not a lot on it yet because only a few people have received this to test. But as always, whenever you're considering purchasing a machine for your studio, I highly recommend you get a few opinions and to see if it really is going to be something for you. The quality of the machine itself is really good. It felt really substantial, heavyweight. It was very easy to assemble, and it didn't feel like something that was flimsy or was going to fall apart. Aside from just taping the surface down so that it didn't move at all when you were drawing, when the machine was drawing, I really didn't find any sort of qualms with the quality of the machine or any of the consumables that came with it. All the paint was creamy and liquid and ready to go. There was no wateriness. The pens worked really well. Everything was great. So I would say the thing that you want to think about if you're considering this machine is how beneficial it's going to be for you and your art practice. For me, this seems like something that might be good for a business, maybe somebody that does sip and paints, or maybe you're an artist that wants to offer your work in a paint by number form on a canvas. That would be a really easy way to kind of test designs. It'd probably in the long run, you probably want to mass produce something like that. But if you're doing a class of 20 people and you want to get 20 canvases ready, convert the design once, and then you can just keep putting it through the machine to draw it as many times as you need to. Here's a finished canvas, and I'm going to trim away the excess, and I can use that for another project. But it's kind of cool. It does look like a paint by number for sure. I'm going to try painting it using their paints and see how we get on. I am going to do it in time lapse because I'm just going to tell you right now, this project was not very successful. Some of the shapes did not have colors assigned to them. The way that it broke up the colors seemed not very intuitive, and I think it's partially because I used a photo that wasn't the best for conversion. There was too many darks, too many shadowy areas, and I think that confused the software as far as breaking it up. It treated large areas that were kind of in the shadow as one part. And I think because there isn't a color for every color that was in the picture, it just left some things just unassigned. And I think that could be confusing for a paint by number painter who's not also like a painter, a non-paint by number painter. So, and it was confusing for me just kind of going this and trying to approach it as painting it as a paint by number and painting it as a regular painting. It was very, I don't know, I felt like I had to be a detective here. So I plugged along for a little bit and filled in according to the numbers, but honestly, this was not a great experience, and I think it's down to user error. Like I said, this is it's the beta version of the app. It's new software to me, and it was my first time doing it. So yeah, there were definitely some struggles along the way, and I decided to actually try to do another photo that I had on my camera and try to do it just like a line artwork with no numbers assigned. And I'll show you what that looked like. This was going to be a picture of an iris, and I cropped it and I lined it up, and I watched the thing do its little like trace around the perimeter, and it seemed like it was going to line up, but when it started to draw it, it actually drew it off the bottom edge. And if you look at this would be like the side, like half of an iris here. It does not resemble it too much. I think it broke it up like into too many little pieces. So at this point, I decided I was just going to do something from the actual software, one of their designs, and see how I made out. All right, I'm going to try one of their versions here. I think I'll just do that little puppy. We'll do oil painting, and I've got an 8x10 canvas there, but last time I tried to do an 8x10 canvas, it drew off the edges. So let me delete that, and let me make it like a 6x9. Hopefully that will work. Okay. And let's try that make. Let's try paint by number again with a 48 color set. And let's see. All right. There it shows you what colors will be needed. And click next. I'm going to use the heat erasable pen, and I'm working on a canvas panel. I have 8x10 selected there. That's the size of the panel. You can kind of see how it's stretched out, but that's all right. I would rather have a little extra space and not go off of the thing. Oh, previewing. So what I'm doing is I'm watching the machine, and the pen is tracing the, I want to actually move it over just a little bit. I want to center up, kind of. There we go. I hit preview again. It looks like it is hovering pretty well. Oh, it looks like it's too far in. Hold on. So you can kind of see what it's doing there on the screen too. All right, I think that's going to work out all right. All right, so I'm going to hit add to task, and when you do that, you're going to see different things that there's the gumball machine that I was working on, there's the iris, and there's the dog there. I had to stop that one because it was going off my table, and I was afraid it was going to damage the pen where it was like dragging up over the lip of that canvas. So I'm going to hit go, and it says it's going to take me 9 minutes to draw that. And what I'm going to do is actually move the camera so you can kind of see what's going on. I'll show you how I've changed it. Just gotta take it off its mount here. Okay, see how I just put it over on that table so it wouldn't cover up my whole table while I was working. But there it goes. It is drawing. I apologize if it's a little bit shaky, but it's pretty cool. I mean, I think maybe I can reach over and you can actually see that purple ink. You see that? And then you can kind of see the numbers. It will write the numbers down where you're supposed to paint. But this should be a lot better because it's one of their free images that's part of their LOKLiK software, their LOKLiK Design Studio. So it's probably optimized for this. So hopefully I have better luck with that than with my photograph versions. This looks a lot better than the one I did for my own photograph. There's much more clear designs, and I'm wondering if there may be, I think I need to look at the guide on the app because that might be a little bit more helpful. Maybe there's some areas that are too small to show. What I ended up doing was taking a screenshot of the image from inside the LOKLiK Idea Studio software, and then I was able to keep that on my phone and look at that as well as looking at the color key from the canvas itself that drew on the canvas. So I was kind of in combination going from the numbers that were printed on the canvas, but then also looking at the photo. I mean, even if you were doing a paint by number project that you bought at the craft store, you'd still want to be looking at that, the picture on the box, just like if you're putting a puzzle together, right? And that's what actually, I think that's what paint by number feels like to me. It feels like doing a jigsaw puzzle, which is also something I don't really enjoy doing that much. So keep that in your mind as I am talking about this product, because if you're someone who absolutely loves paint by number, loves jigsaws, loves that sort of thing, cross stitch, that sort of thing, you may find that you love this product a lot more and would find it a lot more useful than I would find it. So that's why I said check out other people's reviews whenever you're going to make a big purchase. Even if you're going to get it on a good discount, that takes some space in your studio. You want to make sure it's something you're going to use. This process was much more enjoyable, I have to say, using one of the images that was from their software. It was also a really cute picture. So, you know, and the colors had been selected to be very complementary. Like you've got these, instead of black, you've got this kind of burgundy color, and you've got all these beautiful sunset colors, and it's definitely put together in an aesthetically pleasing way versus whatever colors the software might pick out and assign to your paint by number. So I think there's going to be a learning curve, and whether this product is good for you or not is gonna, I think, be determined on how tenacious you are with learning new software, how much you enjoy paint by numbers, if you have a practical application for this, because if you're someone who likes to do a couple paint by numbers a year, and you would be just as happy to pick a set off a shelf and see the finished product and know what you're going to get, that this product may not be for you. I think this is going to be more for like the hardcore, wants to do a lot of paint by numbers, or someone who has a business. And in fact, I think this is probably going to be more of a commercial use product. Like maybe you do sip and paints every weekend and you want to have something to speed up your prep time, or to be able to print an image on your stretch canvases so that your students have a little bit of a framework to work within. And I think there's probably going to be a little bit of tweaking that you're going to have to do to determine, okay, how much do I want this? How bold do I want it to be? It might be something where you actually do the painting and then you take a photo of your painting and you have it converted to a paint by number for your, your students or what have you. When I had a studio downtown, I used to do art birthday parties, and something like that would probably be really fun for an art birthday party. And I've done like sip and paints for bridal showers and things like that, and having something already sketched out on a canvas would probably be really handy. But again, you have to determine whether it's going to sketch it faster than you can, or than you would have people transfer it. It's just one of those things. I think that everybody's different. Every business use is going to be different. And this is going to be a boon to some people, and it's going to be just an additional trapping for other people. So when I'm looking at a tool, I'm really trying to decide, is this really a tool or is it a trapping? Is it going to save me time? Is it going to save me effort? Is it going to give me better results than if I just did it the old analog way by hand? And one of the things I thought about when I was using this product is, could I use this for my watercolor lessons I do at the library? Because I do those projects at the library a couple times a year. The people that come to the classes don't necessarily paint in between those library sessions. They may be complete newbie beginners. And what I generally do for those classes is I give everybody either a small 8x10 watercolor paper or a watercolor greeting card and a pattern. They can either use the pattern or they can draw freehand, and we paint step by step. So I thought, would this be something that I could use in my watercolor classes? And what I usually do is I give everybody a piece of graphite paper and have them transfer the design, and they do that all at the same time. So for me, this probably wouldn't be that big of a help for me, although I do love the heat erasable nature of the ink that they use here. But if it was something that was a little more complex or working in a larger scale, here you can see erasing that. Look at how well that ink just disappears, even under the paint, which is kind of cool, because if you like paint over graphite, it traps it. You can't erase it anymore. So that's really kind of cool. And yeah, I mean, it just goes completely away. So that's really cool. Now, this is not what I would consider a finished done piece. And that's kind of how the paint by number, filling in the paint by numbers would go. Now, like I said, I'm not a paint by number artist. I don't do that craft very often. I guess I don't like to do other people's designs. I like to do my own designs. But I went ahead and grabbed my acrylic markers and decided to add a little finishing touches with it. So this is not part of the paint by number experience. This is me kind of adding my flair to it with some markers. And I think this really helped quite a bit. And that's the other thing. I'm kind of wondering, are you going to get the results that you're expecting? Are you going to get the same results as you would get from a paint by number? And I definitely think you could, for sure. Especially if you're someone who does a lot of paint by numbers, who's very used to that filling in the little shapes with the colors. But for me, that's a little tedious. And so going freehand over this was much more my style. And I really liked how it came out after doing that. But I guess overall, my opinion on this machine is it's a good machine. It's well built. It does what it says it's going to do. I think the software is going to improve once it kind of rolls out to the general public and you can access it on your computer and not just with an app, because I don't really like using the small phone screen to do anything artistic. But all in all, I think you have to make a case-by-case basis whether it's for you. I think it does what it says it's going to do. It's well made, and they are good at supporting their machines. So if it's something you're interested in, I'd say go for it. Go for it while the price is right. Otherwise, wait and see if it's something, and really just ask yourself, honestly, is it something that would help you or just add more to your workflow? And that's all I have for you today. This has been a first look at the LOKLiK iPaint machine. I hope you found it useful. And until next time, happy crafting.